Hello everyone, Mr. Garino here. Now that we have our game working to the point where we can have monsters come out and click on them and make them disappear with some nice animations in between with the monsters coming out and when they're dying. Uh, Now to really make it a game, we have to obviously keep score somehow or determine if we've won or lost. Otherwise, it's not really a game. You're just playing around. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an energy bar to let you know, or to let the player know when they're getting hurt, when they've missed a monster and the monsters come out far enough to injure the person trying to click on them. So the way I'm going to do that is here's all the different things I have in my library over here, and I'm going to insert a new symbol. And the symbol name I'm going to give it is going to be MC, movie clip, and then energy. And the name here really isn't important. You can name it anything you want. I'm just going to call it that. Now in this symbol, I know I'm going to want two layers. Layer 1 I'm going to call my outline. And layer 2, or the new layer I'm going to create, which I want to be underneath, I'm going to call my bar, as in my energy bar. Just to give it a name so that it's something more than just, something more than just layer 1, layer 2. I'm going to have 4 frames of my animation. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to press F5. Actually, before I do that, on frame 1 of the outline, I'm going to draw a little rectangle. I'm going to go over here to my rectangular tool, and I'm going to go to properties. And in this case, I don't want any fill. I just want an outline. So I'm going to turn the fill off by clicking here and choosing no fill. I'm going to turn the stroke on by clicking here and choosing a color like black. It's just going to be a solid line, and what size it's going to be, I think a size of 1 should be good. I might want to make that a little thicker though. So I'm going to leave the stroke at 1, and I'm going to draw my little rectangle. I'm going to try and get the upper left corner right on this plus sign. It doesn't have to be exact. And just draw a rectangle like this. And I'm thinking that's probably pretty good. Okay, so here's my rectangle. Now I want that to be 4 frames, so I'm going to click over here on frame 4 and press F5. So now this little animation, the outline stays there for all 4 frames. On the bar layer though, I'm going to press F6 a bunch of times to give me new keyframes. So this one is blank, they're all blank right now. But what I'm going to do on frame 4 is I'm going to draw a green rectangle that totally fills this outline. So I'm going to go over to my rectangle tool again. I'm not exactly sure why, but when I clicked on the rectangle tool, I didn't see the options here, which I wanted to see. So all I did was click on the text tool and click back on the rectangle tool, and then they were here. So anyway, for this rectangle, I don't want any stroke, so I'm going to turn that off. But I do want a fill, and the fill I want is going to be some sort of green. I'm going to pick this one over here. So now I'm going to go top left corner, just inside the black, on frame 4. Drag this down and over. So now I filled my rectangle with green. I'm going to go back to frame 3, and I'm going to draw another rectangle. This time I'm going to make it yellow. I don't really like using the options over here. So I'm going to do that trick again and click on the text tool, click back on the rectangle tool. And yeah, changing the yellow here does change the yellow there, but I like to see the options when I'm about to do it, so I know I'm having no stroke and it's going to be yellow. And I'm going to fill this in again, but this time I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I'm going to go about 2/3. Doesn't have to be exact. So let me go inside the left, upper left corner, go out to maybe about here, down to the bottom. Okay, there's my yellow. And then I'm going to go back to frame 2, and this time I'm going to choose red, And again, I guess it's just me, but I like to see the options here. And this time I'm going to draw only about a third of the way. And it's going to be red. So if you can kind of guess what I'm doing here, we're going to have our game start, and our energy bar is going to look like this. And once we miss one of the monsters and we get hit by one, the energy bar is going to look, if I can get this thing to move, like that. And then if we miss another one, the energy bar is going to look like this. And then if we miss another one, well, at that point, the energy bar is just going to disappear and the screen's going to go blank or whatever we're going to do, and it's going to say, you lost. Okay, so there is no energy bar after the red. The red means you get hit one more time, you're dead. So we got hit one more time, we're dead. So that's our new symbol of our energy bar. Okay, so you're going to make something like that as best you can. I'm going to go back to scene 1. Now that's a symbol in our library. It doesn't presently exist in our game here. But if I go to the library, you can see here's that movie clip, MC Energy. And it doesn't show you the red and the yellow and the green because those are the different frames. So I guess right now it's just showing you frame 1 of that. So now we're going to drag this movie clip onto the screen, but we don't want to put it on the actions layer. We don't really want it on the background layer, although that might work, but it's good to be organized. So let's create a new layer, and guess what we're going to call it? We're going to call that layer Energy. And it's just a name so we know what we're working with. You don't even have to name it layer 5 or whatever it was, would work fine, but you might as well be organized and give it a name, so I gave it the name Energy. So now while that layer is selected, I'm going to come over here and grab my energy bar movie clip, drag it onto the screen over here, and that's it right there. Now, we're going to access it with our code, so we have to give the instance of that movie clip a name. So if we come over here, we'll see properties while this is selected. So if you happen to click away from it and it's not selected anymore, you're just going to see, if I click in this gray area they call the pasteboard, you're going to see that it's just giving you properties of the Flash document. Okay, so if you happen to click away, just make sure you click back on it, and now it's showing you the properties of this movie clip. And this movie clip, we want to give it a name, and the name we're going to call it is Energy _ MC, because that's kind of the convention. _MC just means we know that this instance of this symbol is a movie clip. Okay, so hit enter, and then sorry about that. Something with the color scheme, it thinks I'm running out of memory. I'm sure I'm not, but anyway, that's why that silly little thing popped up. I don't even know if the screen recording software was going to capture that, but I got a little message on my screen telling me something about changing my Windows settings to basic to allow the screen capturing program to work more efficiently. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so now, so that we know what this thing is, we probably want to put a little text here that tells it what it is. So we go here to text, and by default it should be classic dynamic, which is what you want. If it's something different, then just change it to classic and dynamic. And then you're going to just draw a little box over here, and you can see the color over here is red, which probably will show up good with this background. So over here I'm going to click that, and I'm going to type the word energy. Now you can see that's relatively small, so we're going to highlight that. Over here is the size. You can drag it, or you could just click there and type in and hit enter, whatever suits you. Okay, go to my move tool, click on this thing, maybe move it down and over a little bit. Okay, so now it says energy, and that little thing's going to be green to yellow to red to invisible when we're dead. Okay, and we'll see that in action in a minute. You might, when you play the game, in fact, let me save this now. So the last one I ended off with was Shooter Game 6. I probably should have saved this when I first started so I didn't screw anything up, but let me just do it now. Now you guys look on the instructions. I'm sure I'm going to give you a name that's more meaningful than just Shooter Game 7, but I don't even know what that name is yet. I'll think it up. Make sure you check the instructions to see what the name is. Okay, now when I play this, let's see what happens. I don't even know what's going to happen. Okay, so it keeps playing that movie clip because I haven't given it any code yet to tell it what to do. Okay, and it didn't come up with an error saying fonts should be embedded, but sometimes, depending on the font that you pick here, and there's so many of them, Times New Roman, Times New Roman's a pretty standard one, so like almost everybody's computer has a font called Times New Roman, but if you pick a crazy one, it may, when you go to play your game, it may say font should be embedded. If it says that, all you have to do is click this embed button, you get this little dialog, just say OK. And then what that does is it embeds the font into your game so that even if the person's computer that's playing the game doesn't have that font, it's built into your game so they don't have to have it installed on their computer for the font to show up correctly. It's not that big of a deal, but just in case you see that error, you can go ahead and do that embed. Click on that embed button and prevent that little message from coming up again. It only comes up down here in the output window, so for real when you're playing the game you won't even see it, so it's not a big deal, just to let you know. Okay, so now that we have that and the game's working fine, although the energy bar is not really doing what we expect, we have to add the code to do that. So we're going to go into our main timeline here, and again I can't do F9 because it pauses my recording, so I have to go to long way, actions, and we're going to need two variables to see if we're a winner or not. So right underneath here where it says container MC, oh no, not there. I don't know why I have this big gap here. Not really necessary. There we go. So right underneath here I'm going to declare, because this is like my list of variables, so I'm going to declare another variable score, and it's going to be an integer, meaning it's a whole number, no fractions, no decimals. Go to the next thing, I'm going to declare a variable called energy, and that's going to be an integer as well. It's just whole numbers. Okay, then I'm going to come down here inside my initialize game function, and after my add event listener here, I'm going to set my score initially to 0. Makes sense, right? And now this is the part that's kind of fun. The energy, make sure I spell it right, the energy is going to be equal to energy underscore MC, that's my movie clip, and then how much energy, in fact let me put a space after this equal sign so it's a little easier to see. How much energy is there? Well, initially the amount of energy there is how long the movie clip is, and remember we set it to 4 frames, but I don't just want to put 4 here because that's going to change as the game plays. So what I want to say is the energy is equal to the energy movie clip, so energy underscore MC, and then there's this flash thing that you can say total frames. So you and I both know that number of frames I put was 4, but now we're just telling Flash, go to that movie clip, see how many total frames there are, set the energy equal to that. So it's going to set the energy equal to 4. And then we're also going to say the energy underscore MC movie clip has to go to and stop where at whatever the energy is equal to. So meaning when we first play the game, it's going to go to and stop at frame 4. When we get hurt and we lose one piece of energy, it's going to go to and stop whatever the new value of energy is, which is going to be 3 or 2 or 1 or whatever. Okay, so energy underscore MC, go to and stop, energy, semicolon. Okay, now we're going to go below our create monsters function, and we're going to make a new function for increasing the score. So we're going to do function increase score, and you guys should be familiar with this now, and it's supposed to be a colon, not a semicolon. There we go. So it's always the function name, open close semicolon, open close parentheses, then the colon, then void. Okay, and inside this function, I'm going to put some spaces in here because I know sometimes people don't see what's on the bottom and then they try and delete it. But yeah, that initialize game is down there. So we're going to open close our curly braces, and we're going to say every time we click on a monster, we're going to run this function increase score. So we want to increase the score, obviously. So we want to add 1 to whatever the score is. So we're going to say score plus plus semicolon. But now, at some point, if we've scored enough, we want the game to end. And so we need a conditional statement. So we're going to say if the score is greater than or equal to monsters in game, which by default in this game we set it up to be 10 monsters, but you can, of course, we got monsters in game equal to 10. But you can, of course, change that. Like one thing I changed to give me more time to click on the things while I'm making these training videos. Initially, I had this at 1,000 milliseconds, which meant 1 monster every second, but I made it 2 seconds, so it gave me more chance to click on it while I'm trying to illustrate things. Okay, so if the score is greater than or equal to the number of monsters in the game, so monsters in game, then what do? Well, we open our curly brace. So we got an open close curly brace. And then what we're going to do is say monster maker dot stop. So we don't want to make any more monsters because we've won the game. And then what we can do is into our output panel, we can trace something to say the game's over. And when the game's over, did we win or lose? So we might as well just say trace you win. Close the quotes, close the parentheses. Okay, so function increase score. Score plus plus makes it go up by 1 every time we've clicked on something, which we're going to add some functionality into the monster movie clip so that every time we've clicked on it, it says run this function on the main timeline, increasing the score and checking to see if you've scored enough to win. Now we also have to include the functionality for getting hurt. So we're going to put another function. And remember, this is all on the main timeline. In a minute, we're going to add stuff to the timeline of the monster movie clip. So here it's function decrease energy. Open close parentheses with a colon and then void. Open close your curly braces. And just like we increase score by saying plus plus to make it go up by 1 each time, we can decrease energy by saying minus minus. So every time this function runs, the energy goes down by 1. And now let's do a test again. If energy is less than or equal to 1. Now I've played around with this a little bit, so I'm not sure if I want it to be less than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 0. I think I want it to be less than or equal to 1. Well, we're going to try it out and see. Less than or equal to 1. Oop, don't need that space there. Looks better if you have a space here. So if it's less than or equal to 1, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to open our curly braces, and we're going to say, again, monster maker dot stop, because we've lost the game. So we're going to stop making monsters. And then we're going to trace. Guess what we're going to trace? You lose. And I should put quote marks there, or that's not going to work. And an exclamation point. 3 of them, because I think so bad I can't win a silly game. Close the parentheses and a semicolon. Now, if we haven't lost, we've gotten hurt, we've lost some energy. So we take 1 away from the energy. We're saying, hey, if it's this far down, then we've already lost. We're going to stop the game and say you lose. But what if we've only gotten hurt once? Then the game isn't over yet. We get to continue playing. So we need an else statement here. We have to say else. Open close our curly braces. energy underscore MC, that's our energy bar movie clip, go to and stop. And what are we going to go to and stop? Whatever the value of energy is. So we pass in energy. Most of the times when we do these things, we have open and close parentheses with nothing in it. You see that a lot. Okay, but this time, over here too. But this time we're going to go to and stop. And this time we want to pass in a value, like where are we going to and stopping? Well, we're going to either 4, 3, 2, 1. So initially it's go to and stop up here. It's going to be the total number of frames, which was 4. But then when we get hurt, we subtract 1 from energy. Energy is now 3. The game's not over yet because it's not less than or equal to 1. So it does this else thing and it says, okay, well then go to and stop whatever the energy is now, meaning frame 3, which instead of the green bar is going to be the yellow bar. Okay, so that should work. Okay, so that's our main timeline. We need all that code in there. Now we have to go over to the monster movie clip and add the functionality there to run those two functions when we're getting hurt. So we go back to library, we double click on monster, we open up our actions panel, and where is it that we get hurt? Well, we actually got this function called hurt player, so I think that's where we get hurt. So we're going to set up a new variable. We're going to call it variable, and variables you can name anything you want. I'm going to call it main1 because we're going to go to the main movie clip, the main stage, and then we're going to access something on the timeline. So we're going to go to main. So this variable, so that's why I'm calling it main. Again, you can call it anything you want. And what type of variable is it? It's a movie clip. Notice we use that a lot in Flash. And it's equal to, and I want to go to this thing, this monster. I want to go to the parent, which would be the stage, but I also want to go to the timeline, so it's a parent again. But there's a little funny thing in Flash that if you don't tell it that it's the movie clip you're going to, it might give you an error. So we're just going to say here, it's a movie clip that we're going to. And which one are we going to? This dot parent dot parent. Okay, and then we're going to say main1 dot oops, no, I spelled that right. Decrease energy. Remember, that's the function. Okay, so every time the player gets hurt, we're saying go to that main timeline and run the decrease energy function. And then we have to go down here, and in the die function, we're going to do sort of the same thing. So I can copy this code and paste it in. So in the die function, so I hit Control C for copy. In the die function, I'm just going to paste that in. But this time, since we're not supposed to use the same variable name, I'm going to call it main2. Main2. And same sort of thing. Main2, it's a movie clip. It's equal to a movie clip of this parent. Main2, but this time instead of decrease energy, now that we've killed the monster, it died, right? So once it dies, we're going to increase score. So that's the one thing you have to change. Change the main1 to main2 and increase score. So now that should work. So let me go back to scene 1 and let's resave this and let's play it and see what happens. Oh, I missed it. That time I got it. I missed. I'm going to miss again. And you see down here it says you lose. So I lost the game. Okay, you might have noticed when I lost that game that my energy bar still had a little bit of red here. Let me do that again. This time I'm not going to click on anything. So I get hit once, it goes to yellow, I get it twice. On the third hit, I die. Now the energy bar stays there and this whole screen stays here, but we're gonna change all that. We're gonna make like an ending screen where something appears on the screen and says you lose rather than the output panel, because when someone plays your game off a website or whatever, they don't have an output panel because they don't have Flash Professional. They just have the Flash player or some browser playing a game through a browser. So we have to say you lose over here, but we just didn't get to that step yet. So suffice it to say that this green and this whole background is going to go away. I mean, we could leave the background there, but this is going to go away. We're going to have something on the screen to designate or signify that we lost. Now let's make sure that we can win. So I can't miss 3. I can miss 1 or 2 and still win. I'm going to try and click on all of them. I guess I'm not too good. There actually is a glitch in the game. If you don't click on all, if you miss 1 or 2, you don't win. We have to fix that. So I'm going to try and click on all of them if I can. Don't you just love sitting there watching me play this game in a video? Say you win. So I clicked on all 10. So in the next video, we'll take care of some of the little glitches. The main one is if you hit 9 of them and you miss 1, it doesn't come up with you lose or you win. It just sits there and doesn't do anything. So we got to add some code to accommodate for that. But this video has been long enough. So there you have it. You have an energy bar that goes down as you get hit. If you do click on all 10, you'll get the message you win. If you miss 3, you'll get the message you lose. And in the next video, we'll fix up the thing with the not winning if you only hit 8 or 9 of them. Thank you very much.